Lesson 1.6, Writing Functions. What is a function? Well, a function has a domain, which are the inputs to the function, and a range, which are the outputs. Each input has exactly one output. That's actually the definition of a function. You always check to see if each input has exactly one output. We're going to take a look at the input-output table below. You see the list of inputs 1 through 4, and then the outputs that correspond 0, 1, 2, 2. You see that every input has just one output. The same output may have more than one input, but as long as one input to one output works, then it's a function. You have to be able to identify functions by looking at input-output tables and saying, yes, it is a function, or no, it is not. So look at the two below and decide which, if any, are functions. Remember the definition. Each input has exactly one output. If you take a look at this first one, this one right here, you're going to see that you have inputs of 0 here, but for the inputs of 0, you have two outputs. For one 0, you have a 2, and for the other 0, you have a 3. So that breaks our definition. In other words, that is not a function. If you look at the second one, for every input, 0, 1, 4, 6, you have exactly one output. So the second one is a function. Okay? Remember from pre-algebra that the input is always x and the output is always y. In other words, the input is the variable that you're giving a value to, and the output is the variable that you're calculating a value for. Okay? So x is the independent variable. That means it's not depending on anything. You're choosing it. And y is the dependent variable because it depends on the value of x. For example, in y equals x plus 3, you would choose values for x, you would choose the inputs or the independent variables, and you would calculate the value of y. Y here is the dependent variable, and it is the output. Always keep in mind that this is a linear function. That means it's a line where y equals mx plus b. X would be along the horizontal axis, and y would be on the vertical axis. The value of y depends on the value of x. This is really important, okay? The value of y depends on the value of x. The term we give for all the values of x is the domain. So all the inputs are the domain. And the term for all the values of y is the range. So all the outputs are the range. Given a function and a domain, you should be able to create an input-output table. So here's an example. They're going to give you a function like y equals 2x, and they're going to tell you the domain, 0, 2, 5, 7, 8. Now remember what we just said. The domain is the input values. So we're going to create an input-output table, and we're going to identify the range. The inputs are those numbers given to us. So the inputs are 0, 2, 5, 7, 8. The outputs are when you substitute those values in for x and you calculate y. So the outputs, when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 2, y is 2 times 2, or 4. When x is 5, y is 2 times 5, or 10, and so on. So since the output is the range, here the range is 0, 4, 10, 14, 16. Now, conversely, if you're given an input-output table, you should be able to write the rule or the equation of the function. So we're going to look at this table below. They give you inputs and outputs, and you can see that an input-output table can be written horizontally instead of vertically, so you should get used to looking at them both ways. The inputs, or x values, are 1, 1, 4, 6, 8. And the outputs are 2, 3, 6, 8, 12. You know what? This is incorrect. I'm going to fix this. Uh, this should be 0. So if you look at the x values, and you see how you would get to the y values, again, we're going to change this first value to 0. Okay? If that first value is 0 and the y value is 2, the second value is 1 and then 3, you can see the relationship that's there. Y is x plus 2. Therefore, the rule is y equals x plus 2. You have to be able to write functions for real-world situations as well. So take a look at this problem concerning concert tickets. You're buying concert tickets that cost $15 each. You can buy up to 6 tickets. Write the amount in dollars you spend as a function of the number of tickets you buy. You have to identify the independent and dependent variables, and then identify the domain and range of the function. Well, first you need to identify the independent variable. If n is the number of tickets bought, the function is actually going to be the amount that you spend on tickets is 15 times n, because each ticket is $15. N is the independent variable, the one that you choose the values for, and a, the amount, is the dependent variable, the one you calculate. Because you can buy 6 tickets, you can construct an input-output table with these values. So the inputs are going to range from 0 to 6. 0 if you bought no tickets at all, and 6 if you bought the maximum number of tickets. Okay? You calculate the output by putting those values for the input into the equation. So you're going to substitute 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and calculate the amount. The domain is that list, the list of all the possible numbers of tickets you can buy, while the range are the amounts you calculate, the 0, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90. Those are all the dollar amounts you could pay.